Brother, don't worry. Didn't Qingtan say it? Perhaps not long from now, Lin Dong will receive news about Huan. Lin Xiao hurriedly stepped forward to comfort the somewhat sad Xuanzi. Let's hope so. Xuanzi sighed softly, then turned and walked toward the palace door. Behind him, Xiao paused for a moment, glanced at Lin Xiao and the others, and quickly followed. Swish! Just as Xuanzi stepped out of the palace, a sound of something breaking through the air rang out, followed by the graceful figure of Ling Qingzhu, like flowing water, soaring in from the distance and landing just outside the palace. It was Ling Qingzhu. Seeing Ling Qingzhu unharmed, everyone smiled. Father, Mother, are you all right? Ling Qingzhu asked respectfully as she looked at Lin Xiao, Lu Yin, and the others inside the palace. Now, as Lin Dong's wife, although their marriage ceremony had not yet been held, Lin Xiao and Lu Yin were already like parents to her. Buzz. As soon as Ling Qingzhu finished speaking, a buzzing sound reverberated throughout the heavens and earth. Then, far beyond, over 100,000 miles away, 7 massive pillars of light shot into the sky, piercing the heavens. Could it be someone has ascended to the ancestral realm? Xuanzi and the others looked on in astonishment. The 7 enormous light pillars, extending through the heavens and earth, emitted a terrifying pressure that spread throughout the entire realm, making all living beings below the reincarnation stage feel suffocated. This overwhelming pressure lasted for several minutes before finally dissipating. Under the watchful gaze of every being in the dimension, 7 figures slowly appeared. These were the 6 great lords and Qingzhi, 7 beings of the ancestral realm. With their ascension to the ancestral realm, all living beings below the reincarnation stage in this world slowly knelt, as if worshipping gods. The true peak of the Wuyuan dimension, the ancestral realm. These beings were like gods to ordinary people. This dimension is indeed extraordinary. To think that nearly 10 individuals have ascended to the supreme stage all at once, said the leader of the Great Thousand Alliance with a smile, gazing across dimensions at the 6 great lords and Qingzhi who had entered the ancestral realm. Including Lin Dong and Ling Qingzhu, 9 supreme beings had emerged in the Wuyuan continent. This level of power, within the Great Thousand Worlds, was already at the true supreme tier. Given the resources of the lower dimensions and the restrictions of the dimension, achieving such power was a testament to their extraordinary talent. With time, in the environment of the Great Thousand Worlds, they would undoubtedly reach even higher levels. Of course, the future of the Wuyuan dimension still focused on one person, Wu Zhu Lin Dong. Everything the leader of the Great Thousand Alliance was doing now was to draw Lin Dong in. His intuition told him that this person would eventually reach a level that would rival even his own, a force capable of resisting the extraterritorial evil clan with incredible potential. Congratulations, clan leader, on entering the ancestral realm. As the 6 great lords and Qingzhi ascended to the ancestral realm, a calm voice came from nearby. Soon after, Yuan Qian and many of the Dragon Clan elders flew over. Since Lin Dong had entered the ancestral realm, the Wuyuan dimension had undergone significant changes. For the Dragon Clan, after Qingzhi passed the 3rd round of the reincarnation tribulation, Yuan Qian, who had originally been the clan leader, voluntarily stepped down and allowed Qingzhi to take the position of clan leader. After all, in terms of talent, age, and strength, Yuan Qian was far inferior to Qingzhi. Similarly, the Tian Yao He clan had undergone a similar transformation. Lin He, who had passed 1 round of the reincarnation tribulation, was not the strongest among the Tian Yao He clan, but he had been recommended by many of the clan members to become their leader. After Lin Dong left the Wuyuan dimension, Lin He, who took the position of clan leader of the Tian Yao He clan, had helped Lin Yin establish a new race in the demon realm, a new ancient dominant tribe descended from Lin Yan's Dark Sacred Tiger bloodline, the Dark Sacred Tiger clan. This power is truly different from the previous primordial energy. I wonder how many times stronger it is. Qingzhi slowly stood up, feeling the power within him, which seemed capable of altering the structure of the heavens and earth, and couldn't help but praise. If the alien demon emperor were still around, I'd love to battle him with this power, said the Lord of Space, rubbing his finger under his nose with a grin. The calf doesn't fear the tiger. The Dark Lord glanced at the Lord of Space. How could you still be a calf after living for over 10,000 years? It's really frustrating. I just broke through to the ancestral realm, yet I've already been left far behind by that brat Lin Dong. The Flame Lord slowly raised his head, gazing at the distant horizon where a figure sat cross-legged at the core of the assimilation spirit array. There, that legendary silhouette remained unmoving. Over the course of what appeared to be a calm month, the power within Lin Dong had unknowingly surged several times over. Compared to Lin Dong now, the 6 great lords and even Qingzhu felt even more insignificant, like ants, than before. 7th Grade Supreme. This was the pinnacle of strength Lin Dong could reach after completing the assimilation of all the worldly energy from this dimension alongside the 6 great lords. As the master of this dimension, this rapid surge in strength was not accompanied by any unbearable pain, but rather brought a sense of unparalleled exhilaration, a gift from the dimension itself. Buzz. As all living beings gazed up at Lin Dong on the assimilation spirit array, massive distortions in space suddenly appeared on the colossal array. One by one, enormous dimensional passageways unfurled like gateways to the heavens. These passageways spread across the sky above the Wuyuan dimension, radiating in all directions. At the center of it all, a gargantuan passage tens of thousands of feet wide emerged, from which the figure of a young man appeared. The Great Thousand Alliance's leader. Everyone, if you've completed the assimilation of spiritual energy, I kindly ask that you leave this dimension. The youth standing within the dimensional passage gazed down at the beings of the Wuyuan dimension. His calm and light-hearted voice reverberated throughout the heavens. What? Leave the dimension? As the words of the Great Thousand Alliance leader spread, a chorus of shocked murmurs erupted across the Wuyuan dimension. People everywhere stared in astonishment at the youth. They all knew that this seemingly 15 or 16-year-old boy possessed power far surpassing Lin Dong, but none could fathom the meaning behind his statement. There's no harm in telling you. The lower dimensions are illusory worlds of the Great Thousand Worlds. In other words, they are mere shadow realms. This lower dimension, for instance, is nothing more than the projection of a massive continent within the Great Thousand Worlds. Even the energy you've been cultivating all this time is illusory. By now, you should have noticed that the energy within you has been converted into something tangible, into true spiritual energy, the Alliance leader explained, his voice composed as he addressed the denizens of the Wuyuan dimension. This world is an illusory world? The Lord of Life and Death and the others were stunned upon hearing this. They looked at the Great Thousand Alliance leader in disbelief. What he had said far exceeded their understanding of the world. While it was true that after the assimilation, their power had become unfathomably stronger than before, the Alliance leader's words were simply too shocking. Are you joking? How could an illusory world attract so many demon clans to fight for it? The Lord of Space asked, narrowing his eyes and speaking in a low tone. Heh! The demon clans seek to conquer and control the dimension embryos of these lower dimensions solely to use them as stepping stones for their attacks on the Great Thousand Worlds from all directions. The Alliance leader replied with a faint smile. Hearing this, the 6 great lords fell silent. If the Great Thousand Alliance leader was telling the truth, the actions of the demon clans made sense. What was truly shocking was the realization that the demon clan's goal was not merely to conquer and dominate dimensions, but to use countless lower dimensions as springboards to launch an all-encompassing assault on the Great Thousand Worlds. Using countless lower dimensions as stepping stones to attack the Great Thousand Worlds from all sides. Such a scheme was beyond their imagination. Since you're aware of such a plot, why haven't you taken action against it? At the very least, we don't recall any reinforcements from your world, the Thunder Lord demanded, glaring at the Alliance leader. No reinforcements? I seem to recall Lin Dong mentioning one, the Alliance leader replied, his expression turning contemplative as he spoke. One? Reinforcer? The Alliance leader's words echoed in the minds of the 6 great lords, leaving them shaken. A terrifying thought surfaced within them, and after a long silence, a trembling voice finally escaped from the Lord of Life and Death. Master? If someone from the Great Thousand Worlds had indeed come to this dimension, there was only one possibility: Ancestor Talisman. They knew that Ancestor Talisman hailed from another world, but they hadn't realized he was from the Great Thousand Worlds. After the assimilation of the lower dimension, it naturally merges with the Great Thousand Worlds, and you all will live within the Great Thousand Worlds. The Great Thousand Alliance Master responded. The Great Thousand Worlds? A murmuring voice came from Qingzhi's lips. After a moment of thought, he slowly waved his hand at the dragon clan not far away, and his voice spread across the air. Reorganize the dragon clan and prepare for the full migration.
Yes.
As Qingzhi's words fell, Yuan Qian led all the dragon clan elders and surged towards the distant horizon. Just as they shot forward, a massive spatial rift, hundreds of thousands of zhonglong, suddenly split open in the sky before them. The demon realm is far from here. Use this to get there, Qingzhi said faintly, watching the many powerful dragon clan members below. It was clear that the spatial rift was torn open by him. Seemingly recalling something, he waved his sleeve, and 4 streaks of light flew out, transforming into 4 dragon bones radiating terrifying pressure. These are 4 primordial dragon bones I condensed when I broke through to the ancestral realm. Distribute them to the clan's elites, like Lu Qing and others. Qingzhi looked at Yuan Qian and the others. Hearing Qingzhi's words, Yuan Qian and the others were shocked. They stared at the 4 dragon bones, their hearts filled with astonishment. Was this the power of the ancestral realm? These primordial dragon bones, sacred treasures of the dragon clan, had been condensed by Qingzhi in an instant. However, Yuan Qian and the others said nothing further. They took the 4 dragon bones and charged toward the enormous spatial rift. Although they too longed for the primordial dragon bones, they were old, and such supreme treasures were better suited for the younger generation of the clan. As Yuan Qian and the others entered the spatial rift, Qingzhi slowly turned to face the 6 great lords. Since this world will eventually disappear, why not go see the Great Thousand Worlds? Flame Lord spoke, gazing at the countless dimensional passages in the sky. The Great Thousand Worlds, is that where Master originally came from? Thunder Lord whispered. I wonder if Junior Sister is truly in that world, said Lord of Life and Death. Let's go. The Lord of Space, most curious about the Great Thousand Worlds, moved first and rushed towards one of the dimensional passages. Swish, swish, swish. As the Lord of Space rushed forward, the Lord of Life and Death, Flame Lord, and others followed closely behind. Qingzhi, however, stayed behind. The 6 great lords had no concerns, but now as the Dragon Clan's leader, he had to wait for the completion of the Dragon Clan's preparations. The 6 figures shot through the dimensional passage at incredible speed. Under their lead, the entire Wuyuan dimension's living beings seemed to stir. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless figures shot out from various regions of the dimension, heading toward the dimensional passages in the sky. Those whose strength had not reached the nirvana stage were unable to fly, so some powerful experts from the life and death mystique stage used enormous spirit treasures to assist them, including some pure primordial treasures. These spirit treasures expanded in the wind, transforming into massive forms, carrying countless figures, and moving grandly toward the Great Thousand Worlds. This was the largest dimensional migration in the history of the Wuyuan dimension. Great Thousand Worlds, Extreme Northern Realm. This was a super-large region, encompassing nearly 100,000 continents, located in the northern corner of the Great Thousand Worlds. It was a region of extremely low temperatures year-round, where countless tribes and powerful beings gathered. Over 10,000 years ago, during the apocalyptic war in the Great Thousand Worlds, the armies of the extraterritorial evil clans invaded this region. The war was filled with malicious energy, leaving destruction in its wake. The more than 100,000 continents of the extreme northern realm quickly fell, until the arrival of a super supreme level expert in the edge of the apocalyptic battle. This was a person with unprecedented talent, who condensed an unparalleled supreme law body. With this heavenly power, the situation in the extreme northern realm began to turn around. Eventually, that reverse heavenly expert paid with his life to push back the invading million-strong extraterritorial evil clan army. In later generations, that person would be known as the Ice Spirit God. To honor the supreme powerhouse who guarded the extreme northern realm, and to continue the legacy through his descendants, a super race was born in the extreme northern realm, the Ice God Clan. At its peak, the Ice God Clan was revered by all races, and the world itself bowed in submission. Even the heavenly supreme powerhouses were not in short supply. The rule that prosperity must eventually decline is an eternal truth of the universe. After flourishing for about 100,000 years, as faith in the Ice Spirit God gradually waned, the Ice God Clan began its inevitable decline. The once submissive nations stopped paying homage, and the vast lands under its control, which had spanned over 100,000 territories, quickly shrank to less than 10,000. At this critical moment, another super race, born from the Ice God Clan, emerged in the extreme northern realm. As a rising force, this new race inherited the full burden and bloodline of the Ice God Clan, and the Ice God Clan itself gradually became a memory, vanishing from the realm. After tens of thousands of years, this new race began to produce many talents and developed rapidly, eventually becoming the new ruler of the extreme northern realm. Its name had long since echoed throughout the Great Thousand Worlds. This super race was the Ice Spirit Clan, the successor of the Ice God Clan, and an ancient race that continued to control the extreme northern realm. This vast area, located about 1 billion miles away from the extreme northern realm, was a boundless ocean. Countless continents dotted the sea, spread far apart, with numerous forces on each continent. Even the Ice Spirit Clan had no interest in uniting them, leaving this region fragmented for tens of thousands of years, never truly unified. This area was commonly referred to as the Drifting Realms. At this moment, in the northwest part of the Drifting Realms, there was a vast ocean with 2 prominent continents at its center. These 2 continents were separated by tens of millions of miles, a distance so great that even an ordinary supreme powerhouse would need half a day to traverse it. The 2 continents were named the Four Profound Continent and the Desolate Heaven Continent. At this time, a tremendous stir was taking place on these 2 continents, which had been in a state of bustling activity for nearly a month. The cause of this upheaval was the sudden appearance of an enormous spatial rift located tens of millions of miles away, in the sea. Swish, swish, swish. Countless sounds of wind breaking echoed across the ocean, and the crowd gathering here was growing larger. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the vast spatial rift that blotted out the sky, and many could not help but take a sharp breath. That behind it must be a lower dimension, right? From tens of thousands of miles away, some people pointed toward the enormous rift, and through its massive opening, they could clearly see an endless world beyond. To them, this world felt somewhat ethereal, but they knew for certain that it was no illusion. There is only one explanation. The world on the other side is a lower dimension. I've heard that there are countless lower dimensions. Which one is this? Wait, do you guys notice that this lower dimension looks somewhat familiar? Familiar? Have you been there before? Hold on, I think I feel the same way. It's the shape. The geographical layout of this lower dimension looks too much like the Four Profound Continent and the Desolate Heaven Continent. Impossible. Let me see. Countless voices of debate spread throughout the air, all revolving around the massive spatial portal that seemed to cover an entire continent. Buzz. Just as the crowd continued to argue, the enormous spatial portal began to ripple with an immense wave. A colossal spirit array unfolded in the sky. It was a supersized teleportation spirit array, and as everyone turned their gaze toward it, a terrifying pressure, as immense as the heavens themselves, began to emanate from its core, engulfing the surrounding area for millions of miles. This is the pressure of a heavenly supreme. As the overwhelming, heaven-defying pressure swept through, a trembling voice rang out from the crowd. It was then that people noticed a figure standing in midair before the spatial rift. Before this, no one had detected his presence. His strength must be unfathomably terrifying. Heavenly Supreme. As the enormous spirit array appeared, all eyes in this world froze in shock. Above the spirit array, countless ripples suddenly emerged, as if something was about to tear through the void, and the sheer number of them was enough to astound anyone. Whoosh! Under the watchful eyes of countless observers, a figure surrounded by silver light surged out from the many space ripples. Supreme? Seeing this figure burst out, all eyes in the world were stunned. As they felt the aura emanating from the silver figure, they were all struck with awe, for the energy around the figure had reached the true supreme level. This fluctuation. Didn't they say that people from lower dimensions have to undergo some kind of spiritual energy assimilation before they can wield spiritual energy? A voice of astonishment spread through the crowd, but what they didn't know was that the person they were seeing, a breakthrough achiever from the dimensional barrier, had already assimilated their primordial energy into the spiritual energy of the Great Thousand World with the help of the transformation spirit array set up by the Great Thousand Alliance before breaking through the dimensional barrier. So once they arrived in the Great Thousand World, there was no need for further spiritual energy assimilation. As the silver figure soared, 5 more figures followed, each one also radiating an aura that reached the true supreme level. Didn't they say that people from lower dimensions are usually weak when they first arrive, relying on their innate talent and later cultivation to become supreme powerhouses? Another astonished voice spread through the crowd. Super dimension. Only breakthrough achievers from super dimensions can reach the supreme level when they break through their dimensional shackles. What? Are you saying that the lower dimensional world is a super dimension? As the discussion spread throughout the heavens and earth, the 6 figures that had emerged from the massive dimensional portal had now entered this unfamiliar world. In mid-air, the 6 great lords hovered, gazing at the vast and endless world before them. They could clearly feel that the density of spiritual energy in this Great Thousand World was far beyond that of the primordial energy in the lower dimensions. So, this is the Great Thousand World, the Flame Lord murmured as he looked at the world. The Thunder Lord and others seemed to sense something and suddenly swept their gazes across the surrounding heavens and earth. What met their eyes was a vast sea of figures, as if a massive black ring had formed around them. How is this possible? Seeing the countless figures surrounding them, a look of horror emerged from the Lord of Space's mouth. When he sensed the auras of the figures, he was shocked to find that among the many figures, there were more than 10 whose auras were not weaker than theirs. The level they had fought for countless years to reach was already present here, with over 10 people who even had a stronger aura than them. This was something they couldn't quite accept.